Hi and welcome to the Ruby Tuesday. My name is Ruben and this is my review for Netflix's new original anime series, Kotaro Lives Alone. Let me know in the comments below, had you heard of this? An unpopular manga artist has to care for a new neighbor, a 5-year-old child living alone. So that's the IMDb synopsis and it's just wrong. First of all, Kotaro is 4 years old and he is living alone. He also speaks in feudal lord language because that is the persona he's decided to take on as this kid. Because he's living alone, he needs some sort of protection. He has a fake sword and he talks to everyone in this feudal lord language. There's also an anime that he watches, that's his favorite cartoon, that helps him learn the language. You also have to wonder about this kid's ability in just comparison to adults, because he seems to be really intelligent. I don't know any single 4-year-old that can cook, that can look after himself, that can be self-sufficient. I barely know some adults that can do some of the stuff that this kid can do, from cooking, making stuff, and learning as he goes as a 4-year-old. I was just like gobsmacked and going, oh, I wonder if there are actually kids like this. I'm sure there has to be, because when you gotta live, you gotta live. But that was a little bit of disbelievability that you kind of have to put aside. But I do have to say that there is this sort of feeling and mindset when it comes to anime or animation that some adults still today, there's like a big population that consider people or adults who watch anime as like, oh, why are you watching cartoons? You're a grown man, you're a grown person, you should have been watching anime. This is the type of story I like to hold up in the face of those arguments and saying, just sit down and watch this. Because looking just at the thumbnail, you can go, oh, that looks really just childish and kiddie. It looks like your standard anime, which is just, you know, like action. And not that I don't like the standard anime action series or movies, but there's some that have a lot more meat and a lot more to say. This is one of those. You go into it thinking, oh, this is going to be a cute anime story. My goodness, it's one of the darkest, heaviest, saddest, funniest, and also rewarding, rewatchable animes I've seen in a long time. 10 episodes of 25 minutes apiece, and I was just blown away by the themes and the meaning behind this. As you are watching every episode, the bigger arc as to why Kotaro is alone kind of starts hitting you. There's literally a punch in every single episode, like almost the moral or the theme, but there's one line that Kotaro will say in amongst some of the quirky dialogue, the funny anime stuff that you get. Like, to have anime, you need to take a character that is somewhat pervy, or a character that is somewhat over the top or exuberant, or the creepy character. You kind of have to take all of that, and then you look at the weird character design, you're like, okay, yeah, this is anime. But when you get to those gut punches where Kotaro says something and you realize what that means for him as a kid, this brings up themes of those that are lost, those that are lonely, those that have suffered abuse, those that, you know, it just keeps hammering down on those heavy themes. And because it's not heavy all the time, it can tackle them really well. And so what happens is you start developing feelings for these characters. Even in episode 1, man, there's a gut punch and you're like, oh my goodness, what does this mean? And then in the second episode, you're like, oh, I'm starting to believe that he has had this happen to him, without doing spoilers. And then you're starting to realize, as the story evolves, that he's had a really, really dark past, and that story will, I guess, somewhat reveal itself when you come to the end. For the most part, you understand why Kotaro is living in this neighborhood by himself. But then the lovely part of the story that helps you keep watching is how his neighbors come to his aid. They end up being his surrogate parents, going to parents' meeting, doing all the things that parents would do with him. And the way he reacts to that is often wonderful, but also hurtful. Like, he can't handle anybody giving him hugs. He can't handle certain sort of movements, or people saying certain things, or doing certain things for him. Or, you know, there's a reason why he likes to have the softest tissue. All of this has so much meaning and nuance within it, or like behind the storyline, that your brain is thinking, but that does mean because... just with the tissue thing alone, I was like, oh, that is dark. As you watch it, I feel like you'll be much more invested in this story. You'll forget that it's anime even if you're not into anime. This is a thing that's going to wrap itself around you, reveal it in its like little cracked nuances of individual gut punch lines, and then you're going to love the characters because of how they kind of crowd around Kotaro. What's interesting is that it's not just Kotaro that's being helped, it's mostly Kotaro teaching the adults life lessons through who he is as a person. And that kind of blew me away as well. You have this individual that is 4 years old that seemingly is like just passing the terrible twos. If you've had kids, you know what that is. Really intelligent, but what he does as a person teaches people to be better people, get better at their jobs, be better as a human being, be nicer to their neighbors, treat their bosses with respect and honesty. It just keeps on going on. Okay, this is the way you should live your life. Well, that we hope someday people will be able to use this as a reflection of, we could be better as human beings, as a race. I used to watch a series like The West Wing, hoping that one day we'd get a president or leaders around the world that would mimic something similar to that. Which is awesome, because when you have a reflection of like a moral standing, which society often needs and more today than ever, things like this might help stew some of those juices and questions and go, yeah, man, I could do something, pay it forward. Do you remember watching the film Pay It Forward when it came out? So many people went and put that into their lives. It's showing media actually has an effect on people. They're going, yeah, I could be a better person. I am actually going to pay it forward. I remember that one time when that one person was good to me. I'm going to give that to them. When we start having media like this that affects cultural norms, I think it's doing something excellent. So I really hope it does do that. I'm hoping for a second season. Let me know your thoughts down below. Giving this 5 out of 5 Nicolas Cages. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We've also got a new Patreon with Chris from Movies and Munchies. This week's new video, we're talking about our top 5 time travel movies of all time. We're going to rank them as well. So if you want to see that and enjoy our beardedness, it's called The Bearded Ones, then look for a link down below. Thanks so much for watching, but most of all, until next time, remember, live long Tuesday.